Hey, welcome to this episode of The Complete Advisor. So happy that you are joining us today. We have a fantastic topic, and I'm going to tease just for a little bit, then I'll introduce you to Dan here. But when you're starting in the business, there are so many different markets you can do, and we were talking about this before we turned the mics on. There are so many markets. You can go into 403B. You can go into 457 plans. You can become you can dabble into 401ks. But one thing that I've seen through the years is that with those, if you're going to be an expert, or if you're going to get into an area, you're either in or you're out, baby. Like, you cannot be a financial tourist. Yep. And so today on the episodes, what we're going to talk about is reasons you should be in a niche market, maybe reasons you shouldn't. And we're going to talk to a guy that has an amazing practice out of
Kailua.
What's the nickname
Hawaii.
For Hawaii, though?
Yep.
Is
Oahu?
it the Aloha State or something like that?
Yeah, Aloha State.
There's live free or die
That's right.
in the Aloha State. I was from the Peace Garden State.
Okay.
But joining me, Dan Cronin out of Hawaii. And Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us the area that you specialize in.
Yep. So I'm the founder and wealth advisor. I'm also a chartered federal employee benefits consultant. I know some of the other advisors at Creative we share that designation.
Yeah.
And my niche and superpower is really hyper-focused on federal employee benefits and helping them navigate their very complex and ever-changing federal benefits.
Which the craziest thing to me, and it shouldn't really be a surprise, but the craziest thing is the fact that that's the largest employer in the States, right?
Yeah, and growing.
Yeah. I have to ask you, you know what? We were going to go niche here, but I just thought of something that I have to ask you about.
Let's go.
So I guess this is almost a topic pivot right from the get-go. Because I have friends that are federal employees, and they're not happy about this, and there's all this scuttlebutt. But so I want to set this up. So in your practice, and then fact check me here.
Yep.
In your practice, you do a live event, and then everything after that is virtual, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So what has been the impact of working with federal employees? Is it hard to get them to live events? Because isn't there a lot of talk about making everyone come back in? Are they all virtual? Do they want to do everything virtual? Or?
Yeah. So each agency is different, and each city and region is also different, right? There's like the COVID compliers regions, and then the deniers, right? We'll just paraphrase it that way. For Hawaiian feds, they've really adopted the COVID compliance, right? They were the first to mask up and the last to unmask or demask, right?
Yeah.
So they're super strict. And because of all the Pacific Asian influence, that's already a cultural thing that they do. So I still see people walking their dogs with masks on, right? And they're usually
How do they
Asian
get the
descent.
mask on the dog?
Yeah. TBD on that, whether it stays there or not. And a lot of the federal dynamic is these Hawaiians are working with stateside agencies and vendors and colleagues and HR. There's only a couple HR agencies per designation, like DOD, Department of Army, Navy, in Hawaii. Everything else is like Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Pennsylvania, or
Pueblo, Colorado.
Right there, yeah. So that dynamic's already built in. So they're used to that long-distance relationship, and even virtual was really adopted rather quickly, and it just stuck.
I imagine that's got to be so what is interesting when we were talking about this is, and then we'll get to the niching into the federal and why you should either, if you're going to niche, you should niche hard or not. But that's so interesting the way you do it with the live event. Are they hesitant to come in live to the events? Or would they rather, are they asking you to do
not our events, and not boasting, but every event we do is sold out, and we do 1.5x the size of events. So we started at 50 per event.
Oh, nice.
And now we're at 75 per event. And our Q1, 2, and 3 are already sold out.
How many events do you do a quarter?
So just 4 per year. And then we're rolling out the FERS Plus workshop on a monthly basis.
Now, FERS Plus, since you said it, we better throw out the fact that little doggy's trademarked, right?
It's newly trademarked, so
and that's
proud
yours.
about that. That's mine. Yeah.
So the furs belongs to the people, but the furs
the
plus.
FERS is for the people and the feds. Yeah, FERS Plus is just my branded strategy, and really, our trademark process of navigating federal employees to and through their retirement and helping them understand what their benefits are, what they mean to them, which ones to keep, which ones to drop, and how to really optimize their federal retirement.
I like it.
Yeah.
So on the trademark topic, because I've had advisors on the podcast before that have a trademarked procedure or a trademark system. Was it hard?
So
getting it trademarked?
Yeah, I'll just share it. I'm very transparent about this. So Trademark Genius is the company that I used. It was about $400 or $500 right out of the gate just to start the process, and I expedited everything. And I also paid for $150 per month for them to monitor the progress and protect that pending trademark from other people trying to get in there and swipe it or contest it. And 14 months from the time I started to the time I finished, and under $2,000 all in.
Well, that's not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
And that is a hell of a, that's a great one.
It's a great one. Yep. So a lot of leverage. And the goal for me was to build authority and to have something that was mine, create the brand, create the process, create the systems, and now we're diving into SOPs. I'm bringing on my first advisor and really trying to scale this thing.
I like it.
Yeah.
You've worked with the military, or not the military, the federal government so much. When
both.
we were talking before, the acronyms, you just dropped SOP right
SOP,
in there. Standard
that's
operating
right.
procedure, ASAP, chip chop, the whole
That's
nine.
right. Got them all.
So how did you decide? So let's go into what I did introduce as
Sure.
the topic, which is reasons to get niche-y and reasons not to. Like why you're either in or you're out, and why should you be in?
Yep.
What led you down the path of niching like this?
So I got really lucky. So I'm fairly new to the financial services. I started in 2019 and went on my own in 2021. So just hit an anniversary. And a colleague in New Hampshire actually sent me a recommendation, was like, you have to get into the space that I'm in. We've had really good success.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, I'm a brand new advisor. I went through my Rolodex, learned that everyone I know is broke and or not wanting to make any changes. And, I'm excited for you, Dan. You got in the industry, but you're not touching my money. Right? Love you, but let's keep the distance. And I didn't have any credibility or authority or really specialization that I can stand alone from everyone else. Right? In a sea of blue, I wanted to be red.
Gotcha.
Right? So that was a big thing. Is my trades and construction history was like all about being really refined niche. Like I'm a specialist in this.
Yeah.
So that's what I really wanted to focus on, and that was just a very timely, serendipitous referral into the federal space. It was a big learning curve, right? For those advisors out there, it's an all or nothing thing. It's very complex, ever changing. So if you're going to niche, and I think everyone should, right, in some capacity, or at least get a designation that helps leverage you into a niche or a demographic, like doctors or lawyers or attorneys or whatever, or ball players. I think if you don't, you become just a generalist. And in a time where you type in financial advisor near me, right? That's not how a lot of people are searching. No. So the biggest one, as we know, is through referrals, and then through events or specialized like systems and or relationships in the industry and in the public.
You think perceived value, and if you think of the respect that's given to a neurologist versus your PA.
Absolutely.
Who would you expect if the bill comes and one is high? It's high, and
that's
it's from the neurologist. Like, okay, well, that guy was.
Yeah, you're more apt to pay it too. And my favorite quote is the riches are in the niches.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Right? And it's true. You see all these specialists, and they either did radio to get the word out, and they specialized in radio. Others did live events, dinner events. So, we are in-person full-day workshops, and we're also launching next week our first micro after-work workshop. So it's going to be like a little, mini workshop on a monthly to really be a supportive and introductory to our bigger workshops. So
it's you do a full day?
Full day, yeah.
8 hours?
8 to 4.
Oof.
I I get the venue, I feed everyone, breakfast, lunch, it's a whole thing. They're spendy. I'm spending about 12 to 13 grand per event, but
Do
it's
they?
worth it. It's good ROI.
Are they paying to get in?
Nope, nope. I don't think I could charge them because it's a federal benefits,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
certified GSA program.
How do you make the connections in that marketplace? Do you have to know HR people? Do they?
Yeah, so we do it ourselves. So we're pulling feds into a private, I host it and I'm paying the bill. So I just got to get them there.
Yeah.
So once we win over HR and training agents or technicians that are like, hey, you should be going this, they're our COIs, if you will. So they're like, hey, instead of us, the Fed, paying for a company like you to come in, this advisor's right dumb enough to do it himself and foot the bill. So let's send him. And it's just the word of mouth has just gone crazy.
Is it all so?
Only Fed.
Only Fed, but
Yep.
is there? I guess like all of us humans come in different shapes and size, but underneath we're all we bleed red. So
Yep.
when it comes to their benefits, is it
All the
regardless
same.
of the agency?
Yeah, and there's different little minutia details. If you're a young Fed, like the FEGLI group life insurance, they'll have like a 2x multiplier or like a 1.5 if you're 30 something. Like there's all these little details as you progress through the system and age, benefits can either be activated or changed.
So you can clearly. So my first thought is that if somebody comes in and tries to BS their way in, and
You're
they're
going to see right through it.
it's going to get blown out.
Yeah, but it's also when I'm sitting next to a Fed and they're asking specific questions, I'm also analyzing the questions they're not asking. And that helps me create the map of where they are and where they're trying to go. Right? If they come in, they're like, I already know what my pension, SRS, SBP is going to be. I know what my TSP, I'm going to manage it myself, or I'm going to roll it over and buy index funds and do my own Roth conversions. I'm like, you're pretty good, man. Right? You don't really need that much help. And if you do, it's really refinement, or like, are you thinking about tax mitigation or RMD planning or legacy planning or spousal income planning? There's so many offshoots of each benefit that it's just endless where we can help our demographic.
That is
And
cool.
I'm always trying to be solution oriented to know a solution for each tier and milestone that feds get to. And I think that isn't really a niche, that process. I think that could be adopted by anyone, right? If you deal with doctors, right, what's the average age a doctor retires? That would be a good demographic to know,
That would be
right? What's the average 401k or account balance, or right? Finding the problem or the holes in their current plan can only help analyze where you can come in. Because if there's no value, it's a harder close.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. So, random question for you: Is there a type of agency or a type of a group that you gravitate towards, that you get along with better? This is just total
so
curiosity.
that's a great question. There's 3 agencies, and I think it's just positioning in the market. The agency that gets in first and has the biggest amount of like agents or feds, like the water cooler talk's real, and they go back to work and say, you have to go to this. So we're filling up these things so fast, and we're doing a truly like educational event. There's no sales, there's no solicitation, there's no vendors, there's no products. So it is truly like unbiased education, and we're just rolling up our sleeves, feeding them. I'm not, pinching pennies on the food. Like, we're doing really good food and drinks and premium coffee. Like, I want them to see quality everywhere. And it starts with the first impression, right? There's no second chances at a first impression.
Nope.
So that is paramount. So I come in and I don't make it about me. It's all about you. I do a little giveaway at the end. I have 3 gift cards. I say $25 each, tiny little things, so they don't have to report it. And the Fed with the most amount of years of service, the military service member with the most amount of years, and then combined service. And we're getting like 50-year-old feds, or 50 years of federal service, and like 60 years. It's crazy how long and how dedicated these people are. And for people considering doing federal like benefits or serving federal employees, knowing their benefits is a quick way to their heart, right, and their trust. because if you can speak the same language, then you're in, because there's all the acronyms and then being the bridge to help them. Our line is we want to help our clients to and through retirement. And, we don't have that many clients. We're fairly new as a firm. So we just passed like 62 households, and only one is taking money out of their account. And a lot of them are retired.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Right? So
fascinating.
that is a great client to have because they're never touching their money. But there's also other problems that we can solve for that. Like this is just going to keep growing, hopefully. So we have RMDs and Roth conversions and spousal income and inherited IRAs to get ahead of. So just having that proactive foresight is where a lot of the value we place goes.
So going there, we didn't hit on this, but you started as somebody a little later coming into the business. But you also started as an advisor, and you were stateside.
Yep. So I was in,
and then you switched.
Yep. So the short story is I've been in construction my whole life, all the trades except plumbing and electrical. I can basically do everything else, build you a house if you want. And then I got headhunted by my brother. Shout out to Tradewinds Wealth Management out of Portland, Oregon. And really amazing firm. He was kind of a black swan in the industry where he did everything himself. And I was his first longest employee. So it was all a branch to me and to his practice. And I shadowed him. It was an immersion education. And I just shadowed. And it was rocky. I was not a very good advisor in the beginning. I was fumbling my words and like places that you normally shouldn't, and I was a mess. He was super patient with me the whole time, so I'll be forever grateful for that. And I really wanted a different structure moving forward for the long term. Right? I wanted a path to equity, and it just wasn't there, or I wasn't showing it. Right? It's not all him. It's obviously me too. So I went out on my own in the middle of COVID, 2021. And I had a son 4 months later, so it was an all or nothing thing. I dove in right back into the federal space because I knew that if I could get in front of a Fed, I have a really good chance of making a close.
And then you said, I want to go somewhere where the housing and everything is super expensive.
That's right.
Office rent will be twice as much.
Let's just double the cost of living and put myself in the middle of the Pacific away from all family and friends.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, it's COVID, right? Catalyst.
Throw it in there. Let's throw it in.
That's right.
Once in a lifetime pandemic to boot.
Yep.
In the Fed market, there's got to be different strata or high net worth Fed. We were talking about that before, but have you ever thought of? We were talking about niching even more.
Absolutely.
Had you?
I think as my practice grows, I think I'll scale up or increase my minimum. So I have a $250K minimum already to open up an account. And then I have my First Plus procedure has 3 tiers to become a client. If you roll $500K or more, I waive all the financial planning fees. And for some, that's like, why the hell would you do that? That's like a big source of revenue. My goal has always been make it so easy for someone to say yes to that it's a no-brainer. So I just try to take all the objections, even if I take a little hit on the front end. Demographically, these people aren't touching their money, right? So, and then it opens up for annuities and life and LTC and all that other stuff. So demographics in Hawaii are very affluent, high salaried, because there's locality pay. So they're putting like 30, 40K on salaries for locality pay. And like big cities, so if you're an advisor in and around DC, Sacramento is a huge place, California, Alaska, those hard to reach places, or I mean DC has like 250,000 or more, like 400,000 Feds there. That's a really saturated market too for advisors. But right, if you can do something different from everyone else, you can stand out. But the high net worth, so a lot of our demographics we see a lot of 7-figure TSPs. So those are great. And the average TSP is like 450K nationwide. So we're
nice average.
Yeah, our average case size is much larger than the average nationwide.
Okay, you didn't answer before though. So what agency do you grab with your background?
Yep.
So with your background in construction, Which, by the way, we're in the middle of doing some stuff at our house
Okay.
right now. It's driving me
Okay.
crazy. So I may have to
Yep.
have you talk
Just
to our
give
guy.
me a call.
Yell
Happy
at-
to
yell
yell
at
out
some-
your contractor.
Yell at somebody, but in a way that's maybe that's what you need to
Maybe
tell
I'll
me
use
is
my voice.
You
I'll
use
use
your
the voice.
the voice that says, "Hey, I need this to be done faster, but
Yeah.
do it to your best of your
Yeah.
ability," which probably has to do with like we haven't finished paying you, so chip chop.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dan, you're doing a great job though, seriously. But so do you gravitate? So you've got that background in construction,
Yep.
you've got the financial
Yep.
services, you've got that meticulous nature. We were talking about the concrete thing
Yep.
style you were doing, which is super cool.
Yep.
So do you gravitate towards is there a group that when you're just like, these are my
So
people?
no, it's really kind of luck of the draw because we open up our workshops to all agencies.
Yeah.
So it's really, but we get Army Corps of Engineers coming
See,
through.
that's who I would think you would
Yeah,
fit well with.
it's a love-hate with them and me because they either see me as too analytical, like
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
they want someone other than their brain, right? So that's a blessing and a curse. But I usually gravitate well towards them. DIA, Defense Intelligence. I have a lot of clients, and they have one of those titles where they can't tell you what they do.
That's cool.
Right? They're like, oh, I'm an IT analyst. I'm like, no, you're not. You're spying on my house. And then DOD, so Department of Defense, which is
Yeah.
Army. And then there's like PAC West, PAC East, all sorts of other. And then Navy is really big.
Any group that you're just like, oh man, here comes the Department of Animal Control.
So yes, this is a stereotype, but historically they're really apprehensive to work with anyone, and that's law enforcement officers. So yep, they're just as a group, right? They deal with criminals all day, so their guard is up. So breaking that guard is more of a challenge than all the other agencies.
I bet.
But I have an FEI agent client, and you wouldn't know it. If you walked up, you'd be like, you're just a great human, and badass.
That would be a weird. I'd always had an interest in law enforcement, but then I had always thought that would have messed up my worldview. I have a brother-in-law that was a police officer, and he
Okay.
never really wanted to go anywhere because I can only imagine all you see is bad people and things you gotta get in.
It's a tough industry.
That would be a hard
Yeah,
pass.
DIA. We have a lot of DIA clients that do like dark web stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, whew, hats off to them because
I wouldn't want.
they want out by mid-50s. I haven't met anyone over 60 doing that stuff because that's really taxing stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I
hats off to
imagine.
them.
Yeah, I imagine they
Yep.
see things that no one ever wants to
Yep.
see,
Yep.
and then they have to see it more than once.
We also get a lot of federal employee couples. I love doing helping federal employee couples because there's just a unique scenario where you can optimize those benefits and you can save them a bunch of money and leave more money to the family. And, they got 4 guaranteed income sources, 2
Yeah.
pensions and 2 Social Securities, plus 2 TSPs with a 5% match their whole career. They're sitting really pretty.
That would be
So
nice.
that's a power couple.
You do have a hell of a marketplace where you have people that have great benefits,
Yeah.
but you add in the wrinkle of no, and please I don't want to be audited or anything like that, but very complex paperwork
Absolutely.
that's confusing.
Yep.
So you have people with money, a system that's not made to be, but is very confusing. I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And you have people that are retiring and they've got all these choices and they need help.
Yep. And back to your point about all in, like that's a service that we gladly
Yeah.
jump into. Like we're jumping in the fire with these guys. So if they have a retirement application, we will jump in, review that form, check for errors, and I like to do that at the end. So we go through our whole First Plus procedure. We're checking all the basic financial planning, and then we get into advanced financial planning, and then we manage their assets, and we have the whole picture now. And then we get to the retirement application. And I'm like, we can do it real quick. We want keeping the pension, survivor benefit, we've already done. Mm-hmm. We can either put a hybrid policy in place, or you need to go with the full, or if you're single, you're going to save money, right? And then all down the list, long-term care, Social Security. So having that whole plan is just game changer. To be able to say, this is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's get you to here. And then the how and the why we'll figure out, or for them, they'll figure it out along the way.
How many advisors do you see try to especially in your neck of the woods, come in because it is where you're in an area where there are a ton of federal employees.
Yep.
How often do you see what maybe we'd call a financial tourist, somebody who's trying to dabble just a little bit? And
Yeah, not in my niche.
yeah, no, I mean in your neck of the woods,
Oh.
out there. Do you run into that where you have to punt somebody?
Man, I really don't. I kind of have my blinders up. I'm just like I'm in tunnel vision. I'm not thinking about competition. I'm always trying to do things that are hard to compete with, or that I wouldn't want to be a competitor of mine, right? But I'm just doing my thing, optimizing, constantly improving my process, my outreach, my marketing, working with Creative One, just doing as much as we can to build that brand authority, make sure. And Hawaii's really small. Like I can drive across Oahu in an hour and then drive up and down in an hour. So it's a pretty small, your road trips are really short unless there's traffic. So there's not like this big country drive you can go on. And there's concentration. So our marketing efforts can be really consolidated. Like 20 miles is a big radius. There's a lot of people in that. And they're not building a whole lot of new houses. So I really focus on the brand authority, building out my process, and just making it so easy to do business. And if you don't want to do business, it's easy to get out too.
Yeah.
Right? So.
All right, so let's give do some financial community service here.
Let's do it.
Give us a piece of advice for somebody who would want to get into this niche.
Yep. So if you're going to get into the federal benefits, I would find a partner who's already doing it. Mm-hmm. Unless you're just a quick learn, you love taking tests, you're really good at that memorization, and you need a marketing plan first, right? And you can do it in tandem, but a strategic alliance or relationship to get you into that space with ideally an educational authority so that they've already got a market share and you can leverage that relationship where they're in front of a lot of feds to help position you as the leader in your area or market. That would be first. And then design a marketing plan to then attack and attract your ideal clients. The best thing I did was put a minimum in, the $250K minimum.
Did you not start with that?
I didn't, and I just had, I'll help anyone. I'm a brand new advisor, brand new company will take anyone through the door. Yeah. And they're still amazing clients, but they usually require the most amount of time. Mm-hmm. And it was just, took me 1 year, thankfully, to realize that, and my experience at my previous firm to really dial in what type of practice I wanted. So again, that's all part of the corporate vision is what type of practice do you want? Mm-hmm. I think defining your ideal client is so imperative. Who do you not want to work with? Mm-hmm. Who do you want to work with? What is like the perfect client? What do you talk about? Like envision all those details, and you can literally write a script on who you want to work with and who you don't. And if you're an established advisor, it's way easier to do that, right? Because you have that comfort and the residual. If you're a new advisor, a little trickier, right? So you usually throw all those out and to build it from scratch. That's what I did.
That is hard. That is hard.
It is hard. But I've also noticed that minimum allows for that increased credibility and exclusivity to build a brand and authority. And some people are for and against that, and that's just their model.
Do you hold that line firm?
No. If I have a friend,
it's tough.
It is tough, right? Because I didn't come from money. So if, and I give so much info to the public away for free. I give more away than I charge. And I have that abundance mindset where if I give more, I'll get more. Right? Simple as that.
And the perception that you have, that like my guy has a limit, but he let me in. Or you never know who that person knows.
That's right. Too. That's right. So the referrals, and I'll help someone. So if a Fed came to me with $100,000 and said, I need help, I'll give them client tiers 1 and 2. I'll say financial planning or the First Plus procedure. You can have those, but you don't qualify for our 3rd tier, and that's $250K or above.
Nice.
So I'm still helping them, and oftentimes I'll just say, what do you need? Just tell me what, and I'll just answer it right on the spot. So I do a lot of that too.
I like that.
And I was mentioning it before, but Hawaii is very small, and a lot of these little towns across the U.S. are also very small. right? And just at our summit here, I ran into another advisor from Bristol, Rhode Island, and I'm in Hawaii and he's in Bristol, and I was like, my mom lives on Bradford Street, and my brother lives on this street, and right, it was just like so small. But Hawaii is extremely small, and I tell every Fed and client, Fed or non-Fed, that gets in front of me, I'm going to roll out the red carpet for you. I want you to have the best experience that you can, and an experience that I would want to go through as a human, as a person, as a business owner, and be treated by my financial advisor, right, if I had one. And that's the standard that we set. And I don't want to be a product pusher, right, or anything like that. Like, that's how the reputation builds. And word of mouth will eventually build and compound, and it already has. So
I think about reputation. I grew up in the Dakotas, so small town. Everybody knows everything about you. But here during the NFL playoffs, there was a guy who started. I went down a Twitter rabbit hole, and this guy, Philadelphia fan, started saying some awful things to this woman in front of him. Do you see this?
No.
Oh, so he starts saying some awful, awful things to this woman. She was a Packers fan.
Okay.
And this guy records it, and he's just awful.
Yeah.
Things that you
Going
should
off.
never say to a woman.
Yeah.
And the person recording said, "Let's make him famous."
Oh no, in the worst way.
This guy's already lost his job.
Yeah.
And so I think about reputation management. These days.
It only takes little moments like that to unravel something you've built a lifetime or a long time building.
In this case, it looked like about 7 beers and a rabid fan base. Okay, so let's do a flipsy doozy then.
Yeah.
So you just gave advice on what you should do if you want to get in this niche.
Yeah.
Give me a couple things you shouldn't do, or
Sure. Yeah. I'll say if you don't like complexity, this is not the niche for you. If you don't like steady Eddie, simple, like investment plans, which not a lot of people don't, right? This isn't for you. Like, if you like extremely high net worth or very complex estate plans or things like that, Feds usually don't have those. If you don't like real estate, in my demographic, real estate's a big thing. So that is a big variable in a lot of portfolios too. Like, what do I do with this second or third home that we've been sitting on?
I never would have thought of that.
Yep. So there's a lot of like generational real estate with our clients. So having that piece, I think that's more demographic and regional too, but that's predominant in my area. If you don't want to have a complex service model, if you just want like simple, like all I do is manage money, I'm an investment advisor, this is not for you, right? Because you can still do that, but you're likely going to lose business to an advisor like us who does everything. And we're probably in the same fee model, right? Because my service model is extremely value heavy in the front, and then it's cruise control from there. Like, I do heavy investment in education, and we do, very concentrated meetings on very specific planning items. And they're like, whoa, I am armed to the teeth with data and tactics and strategy that I get to choose from, or that Dan and the team help me figure out.
What's that take, like the first 12 months, the heaviest?
No, I mean, we're doing it now within 4 to 5 months.
Nice.
So I like a more frequent cadence. So like, we meet every week or every other week, at least a couple times a month, to get that momentum, the confidence, the repetition of all these new acronyms in the private sector, plus a refresher of their federal stuff. So that's our model. But if you're going toe-to-toe with me, I'm probably going to be ahead just in value add.
Yeah.
And they might say, well, how come your fee is this when this advisor's doing this? And I'm still very competitive. So I'll share that too. We're at 1.35% on our fee, and then we discount it above $2 million. So, and then at $5 million, it's negotiable.
Yeah.
So that's our model.
Nice.
And we don't really get a whole lot of resistance. So
These are
the
good
only
things.
time I get resistance is when someone says, what is that per month? And I know that person, right? The analytical, like, monthly.
What agency? What agency are they coming from?
This was actually, most recent one was a spouse of Department of Navy. And she doesn't have any money. but she is the hawk of his money. And she's like, 850. It was like a $750,000 account we're doing.
Yeah.
And the spouse was like, the hell, that's $800 a month. I was like, yep. And then when she said that, I said, I put that on me. I said, I didn't do enough value add, or she didn't get it, or whatever, fill in the blank in the beginning to justify.
In her mind.
In her mind. But we never did the monthly breakdown, and very few people ask me what the monthly cost is. They just see the fee, know that the TSP charges a fee, and the value's so heavy that they're like, why wouldn't I do this?
Yeah, it becomes a non-issue.
Yep.
Fascinating.
Yep. So that's the process.
All right, we're going to land this plane. I have to tell you, next time you're this way, we're going to have to talk a little more about your business model and the way you're doing it, which is interesting with the live events and then all virtual. That's a little bit of a different wrinkle, and there is a whole thing to unpack there. But we'll do that next time. So
sounds great.
For everybody else, thanks for being on here. By the way,
thanks, Dennis.
For everybody else, I'll tell you what. If you get a chance, like, subscribe, follow. I've told people this before, but it turns out on
I need a
Apple,
refresher.
on Apple, you don't subscribe. You follow. And so if you're looking for a subscribe button, you're never going to find a damn thing.
Makes sense.
You can catch us on YouTube, so you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Apple. You can watch us on Spotify. You can catch us on Pandora, iHeartRadio even. But if you do subscribe, you'll know the next time we drop an episode. And then also, if you get a chance, if there's an area you want us to dive into, shoot me a message. Shoot it in the comments. I love comments, constructive or non-constructive. I like reading. So, but let me know what you're thinking, and we'll get there. So that being said, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was good stuff, man.
Yep.